I'm Ulises, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can use OpenPathfinder to secure your open source organizations on GitHub or any project that you have. So basically we have two tools that we are going to cover in this demo. One is the visionBoard, that is the tool that we use to visualize the information and to collect the data from different resources like the scorecard, GitHub API, and so on. And basically we build with this interactive dashboard that we can use to showcase the data. We can use checks and checklists and so on, and I'm going to show you that in detail in a moment. Now let me show you how you can add a project to the visionBoard. So basically we have this command that is designed to add a project. We just provide a name to the project and the GitHub URLs for the organizations that we want to have associated with this project. Once we have added the project, the next step for us is start to collect information from the GitHub API. So the step is to collect information from the GitHub organization, and then we will do the same thing for the repositories. Basically this is going to scan the organization and check for all the repositories and go to the GitHub API and collect all the information for the repositories. Something cool that we can do with visionBoard is actually running containers and collect information from those containers. So in this case we are going to use the Upsert OSSF scorecard workflow, which is going to execute container for every repository that we have listed in our project, and basically it's going to run the scorecard, the official image of the scorecard against all of these projects, all of these repositories, and we can get the information, the official scoring, and so on. As you can see, it's going to take like several minutes. It's running several operations in parallel. You can configure also these settings, so you can run 6 containers in parallel, or 10, or 20, or depends on the resources on your computer. It doesn't take a lot of time. The average per container is up to 30 seconds, even for the bigger images. And basically, when you have this collected, we can start running the checks. We can run the checks in several ways. One of the options is to run directly a check with a specific name. If I just want to check one thing, so this is going to query the database and validate the information based on the empirical checks that we have. Also, it's possible to run all the checks together as a workflow. So basically you run against all the checklists, all the checks that are available right now. So right now on visionBoard we only have 3 different checks available, which is the GitHub org multi-factor authentication, the training for the software design, and also as well if only the administrator can create public repositories, but it's possible to add more checks. Actually, if you want to run checks in a specific order, you can use the checklist, which basically group checks in different orders and categories, so that way is simple for us. So in this case we have the checklist for the from the OpenJS Foundation for the different kind of projects that we have based on the criteria of the foundation, like if the project is active or retiring or incubating, if it's a solo maintainer or it's a group of maintainers running for this organization. And you can just choose the name of the checklist that you want to run and just run the checklist against, and you will run it. For those checklists that you don't have them implemented, you are going to skip them, but you can see here the full list of the checklist. Also in the website you can see the information of the checklist that you have here, which is the same. Here's the collection of the information, and you can check the details of every check. For example, software design training, if we click on it, we can see like the information, when it was included in the dashboard, what information we are collecting, what's the criteria that we use for doing that, and other additional details like how to mitigate and how to solve any problem, and additional information about these specific checks, so you can see the collections and the information. Our next step in this process is to generate the reports. So basically we can run the workflow that is generating the statics for us, and we can just run the workflow for showing the reports. This basically will start a local server, HTTP server, running the HTML and the reporting and the JSON files and so on. So basically if we click on it, we will see a static server. We can see all the information that we have in the output folder. This includes, for example, the data that we use to render the HTML pages in a JSON format. You have it for the index, and you have it for any project that you have. Here you have all the information that we use to build the visualization. You can see the visualization here, for example, in the index.html, and you can see here like all the project, the checklist information. You can see the compliance checks, how many of the checks we have implemented already, and you can check for the documentation and so on here. Also, this is going to be like the it will include also the version of the vision board and so on. And if you click on the project that you have, if you remember at the beginning we add the project OpenPathfinder, you can find it here, and here you can find the alerts for the project, like whatever we have detected running the checks that is not valid. You have the results here, so you can see, for example, what's going on in terms of the results, what checks are you passing or not, and also you can see like the pending task and the scorecard results that we just ran before, and the GitHub organization details and other details about the repositories that you have. So basically you can get an idea as a maintainer of what's going on here. Okay, now let's see how we can solve one of these pending tasks using fortSphere. So basically we have this task. The first task that we have here is related to the who can create actually public repositories in your GitHub organization. In this case, the expected is to have this limited to the administrator only, and we don't accomplish this, right? So if we click on view details here, we can actually access to the information of what the specific check we have missed and what options we have to mitigate it, right? So the idea here is like we have used the GitHub API and we can collected information, and we see that any member of the organization can create public repositories. If you go here to the details, you can see the how-to guide. So basically here is going to explain you how you can actually manually solve this problem or you can verify this problem. So basically in our case, if you go to our organization, if you are an administrator of the organization, you will basically see this information here, right? So in the members privileges of the OpenPathfinder organization, you can see that we add this value by default. So any member of the organization can create public and private repository, which is not ideally, at least for the public repositories, right? So we need to mitigate that. We should go this and do this manually, but we have the option to do this with fortSphere. So in order to solve this with fortSphere, we just go to our terminal, we just ensure that we have fortSphere running. Let me check the version. So yeah, it's an experimental, and basically we have this policy list here that give us information about what we have available in terms of mitigations. In our case, we have a policy here called restricted repo creation GitHub, which basically is designed to cover this gap, right? So the idea is we limit who can create repositories in our organization. Also inside of the website, you can see the policies that are available on fortSphere and how are designed and what is going to change technically on the API. So in our case, we are going to run this policy. So we basically say something like this. We want to run fortSphere policies, and we want to apply this specific policy against this GitHub organization. We provide the name of the GitHub organization, and when we run it, we see that is providing the information, applying the policy, checking the state, updating the organization, checking that actually the change was done properly. Yeah, now if we check the information, we can go again to the GitHub page that we have the settings, and we can see that these settings has changed basically. So this is done via the CLI using obviously the GitHub API under the hood, and you don't have to do these changes manually, so you can apply this to multiple organizations and so on. This is especially interesting if you need to apply changes on your GitHub policies across like dozens of GitHub repositories and not just at the organization level. So that clarifies and solves a lot of problems basically. If you run again the same check, you are going to see, like in this case, it's going to check how is the state of the organization. And as the organization has already this policy in place, it doesn't do any change, just confirm that is valid. That's another option that you can use fortSphere to do the validations, not only just the application of the policies. Okay, we have just stopped the server. So now we are going to fetch again the information on the vision board from the organization. Then we are going to rerun the checks, and we are going to actually see this information on the dashboard. So basically we update the GitHub organization, which was the change we done. We run all the checks in this case, so we have all the information updated, and basically we generate the reports because it's static information files, and then we just show the reports, which is running again the server. And if we enter into the server and we go inside of the index page and we go to the OpenPathfinder project details, we can see that we still have two warnings, I mean 2 alerts that was from previously, and we can see now in terms of the checks, in terms of the results, that the admin repo creation only, that was a severity high, is now passed. So basically we solved this using fortSphere. We detect the issue with visionBoard and we solve the problem using fortSphere. And again, we can use this dashboard as many times as we need to get this information, and we can get a deeper analysis on the scorecard and many other things. So basically this is how we can combine both tools to solve technical problems and run all the mitigations for having our organizations smooth and clean on GitHub and very secure.